So, if you're not familiar with these iceberg memes, they are a visualization on how accessible and well-known knowledge surrounding a general interest or a fandom community is. The stuff that most people know is on the top, and the stuff that's more unknown and obscure goes further down. Well, as the video says, I'll be going through the Thomas the Tank Engine version. If you don't know what these mean, it's an image full of Thomas the Tank Engine facts, rumors, theories, or anything of the sort throughout the years. However, while creating this iceberg, I've made sure that nearly most of these will be fact-based. But if otherwise, I'll be sure to let everyone know. I'll be covering each one with as much detail as I can find. Before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone that it is possible for me to make mistakes during the video. After all, I didn't work on the show, nor am I a creator. I am just a normal fan who's interested in Thomas media. So if I do make a mistake or if there was something that I should have added on, feel free to correct me in the comments. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Originally, Murdoch was going to be painted maroon with red and chrome yellow lining. His livery was later changed, likely due to it being similar to another new character introduced in the 7th series, like Arthur. The Missing Coach was an episode originally going to be in the 2nd series, but was cancelled. David Mitton confirmed that the episode was in production in 1985 and halfway through filming when Britt Allcroft considered the episode unworthy of being aired since she thought the plot would be too confusing for children. The twins swapping their tenders was what would have been too difficult for children to understand. The Marklin engine was an off-the-shelf Gauge 1 model used to hold rolling stock in the background of the first series for creating the illusion of busyness. Nigel was a cancelled Pack character that was meant to appear in the Thomas spin-off series Jack in the Pack. Gordon Goes Foreign was also an episode planned for the 2nd series of Thomas and Friends, but was cancelled due to budget. If this episode was filmed, the Big City engine would have been made using a modified version of Henry's model with a new face, mask, and the smoke deflectors. The Adventures of Thomas was a planned movie. The movie was originally meant to be released around late 2010, but was pushed back to spring 2011, then to a 2012 release, then to a 2013 release, and finally a 2014 release before eventually being cancelled. There's not much known about this movie, except it was going to take place in London during World War II and revolved around a preteen boy who had drifted apart from his father and got introduced to the world of Sodor. Thomas and the Magic Railroad had a lot of changes while being made, one of them being a human character who didn't make it to the final cut. P.T. Boomer, who was gonna be the main villain next to Diesel 10. However, the test audiences claimed Boomer to be too scary, which led him to be cut from the film. I'll leave a link to the wiki in the description if you want to read all about it. According to a CIF interview with Sam Barlow, Duck was originally considered to be part of the STEAM team, but was dropped in favor of Emily to give a female character a more prominent role. The Down the Mine pilot is the original unaired 1983 test pilot of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. It was filmed but never broadcasted. The pilot was based on the Railway series story Down the Mine, and differed from the final aired version. After this series was greenlit by ITV, the story was later refilmed as the 25th episode of the first series. Jack in the Pack was a short-lived spin-off series, which only lasted for a season, due to loads of episodes getting cancelled, such as Bossy Byron, Jack and the Quack, Jack's Snow Adventure, Treasure Hunt, and many more. I'll send a link in the description of the Wikia if you'd like to read more about this topic. This is referring to a wooden toy from the early 1940s and the original Thomas made by the Reverend Audrey out of a piece of broomstick for his son, Christopher. This engine looked rather different from the character in the books and television series and was based on an LNER Class J50 with smaller side tanks and splashers. He was painted teal green with yellow lining and carried the letters NW on his side tanks. Tugs is known as Thomas's sister show. which focused on the adventures of a team of tugboats living their independent lives. For the 3rd to the 12th series, some of the models from tugs were used in Thomas & Friends after the series was cancelled. Even the character from tugs, called Big Mickey, was carried over to Thomas & Friends. During the filming of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, an elderly Thomas face was sculpted for a joke. This face mask would soon become a huge joke around the fandom and end up being a creepypasta OC called Timothy the Ghost Engine. George was meant to appear in Thomas and the Magic Railroad as one of Deedleton's lackeys, but his model was never brought for filming, and because of this, his role never passed the storyboard stage and original script. Bertram, the narrow gauge engine introduced in Toby's Discovery. According to Britt Allcraft, Bertram was supposed to be a tank engine, but due to financial difficulties, the crew had to repaint Duke's model with a smudger face. In a deleted scene from the movie Big World, Big Adventures, Carlos is briefly depicted with the Aztec calendar around his face.
Where are you going?
Wherever I want to, mate. I'm a free spirit. I follow the sun.
Oh, I see. A sun worshipper. We used to have proper sun worshippers in Mexico. And you know what their faces look like? This.
I'm pretty sure they removed this scene for being too racist or offensive after the backlash they got from it, so it got removed. Billy was originally scripted to be in Series 13 in the episode Splish Splash Splosh. However, the role was given to Charlie. Duncan was going to be included in Series 16, but when the production crew went to the Talleyland Railway to measure the engines, his basis was being overhauled and could not be measured, hence why he didn't appear in Season 16 and Blue Mountain Mystery. In a New York Times article in 1995, Britt Allcraft intended to make Rusty gender neutral due to the lack of female characters in the series. Because of this, in some episodes, removed or changed any instance of Rusty being referred to in gender specific pronouns.
Send Rusty packets, snorted Duncan,
as the original stories referred to him as male. A behind-the-scenes picture of Bill's model reveals that he and Ben were to have numbers on their smoke boxes above their faces, as they did in the Railway series. But this was never shown in the TV series. Molly appeared with a larger face in promotional shots and merchandises. However, it was changed due to the fact people who made the Molly prototype faces were inexperienced, hence why you see her having a large face in magazine stories and merchandise. The original title for the Great Discovery special was going to be Leader of the Track. Despite the login locos said to never return to the Brenner era, Ferdinand appeared in the background of the Season 17 episode, Signals Crossed. During Season 21 and Big World, Big Adventures, Rebecca was originally meant to be called Miranda, and Nia was originally meant to be called Cassie. Around Season 5, the US TV executive suggested Edward to become a female engine and be called Alice, to have more female characters. However, this never happened. Stanley's shed was going to be in The Great Discovery. Although the shed was fully modeled, it was going to appear in the special, but it was left out for unknown reasons. Many have thought to believe that Steven was going to have a cab in his introduction. This would also explain how his prototype merchandise shows him present with a cab. Along with Dennis, Splatter and Dodge were intended to return for Day of the Diesels. However, they were replaced by Paxton, Sydney, and Norman. According to Sam Wilkinson, Splatter and Dodge were also considered to be mainland diesel shunters in the Great Race, but were dropped. According to concept art of the film by Guru Studios, Colin was originally going to appear in King of the Railway and be based at Ulstead Castle. This is a reference for the working titles for the 2014 special Tale of the Brave. They were The Monsters of Sodor and Tracks of Bravery. According to Sharon Miller, she wrote Derek into a Series 16 episode with a non-speaking role in Bust My Buffers, but it was never materialized due to Paxman, Derek's original name, in the script being mistaken for Paxton. When it came time for the episode to be animated, it was too late. Season 21 is the shortest season in the entire show, with a total of only 18 episodes. Full 26 episode series were planned, but 8 episodes were cut to make way for the development of Big World Big Adventures, the movie. Around March 2021, Ian McHugh confirmed that episodes Confusion Without Delay, Samson and the Fireworks, originally Oliver's Fear of Fireworks, Thomas's Animal Arc, Chuckle Some Trucks, and The Unfriendly Elephants were all originally written for the 21st series. However, they were pushed back to the 22nd and 23rd and 24th series, respectively. We also know that there was going to be a Henry episode, a Rosie episode, and a Bulgy episode. I think this one just speaks for itself. Around summer 2011, someone broke into the Drayton Manor Thomas exhibition and Toby's television series model was stolen. This might sound weird and crazy. Britt Allcraft tried to sue the Bluebell Railway because she thought the character Stepney came first, even though a real engine was built 120 years before the character based on it appeared on TV. Not to mention that he'd worn the livery for years and was given his name when first built. This is referring to around 2017. It was announced that Rosie was going to have a new look and a new job for the 21st series. However, this was cancelled to make way for production of the 22nd series Mbwabwa. Although they gave her her new livery, they never expanded upon it. Adding on to what I've said before about the Rosie arc, there is belief that Rosie was going to be part of the Steam Team with the amount of promos she got with the Steam Team during season 21 and her entire repaint. If you look at this image closely, you will notice that it looks like there are 9 spots at Titmoshed. This is just a fun theory that the fandom has created. I think the whole reason why people came up with this theory was because they shared the same face masks. Apparently, other liveries were considered for Rosie when she was updated for the 21st series, including blue and green. However, these were eventually rejected in favor of the red livery. Despite none of the returnees or new characters introduced in Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure appeared in season 19, there was one exception, and that was Daisy. She was seen in the background in Thomas the Babysitter.
She has to get off here.
It's the very last station.
I'm not sure if her appearance was intentional or an animation error, since Stanley was the one seen leaving the platform, but I guess I'll just let you guys decide. Again, this kinda just speaks for itself. Percy's Promise was originally planned to be part of the 2nd series, but was pushed to the 3rd series. Triple Heather was also apparently thought of being adapted, but for some reason was cancelled. This one is kind of a funny one. Daisy's classic theme, heard in the 2nd and 4th series, was inspired by The Stripper by David Rose. This was done to go along with the pink buffers on David Mitten's original design for Daisy. In 2020, the Thomas & Friends website updated its engines page to include Big Mickey and many other characters. For his image, a fan 3D render from a Trains game by the user I Love Trains 323 was used instead of an official render. Later on, Big Mickey's page was removed soon after. Apparently, Hero of the Rails was going to be developed as a model and CGI production, just like the 12th series. However, this was changed into a full CGI production due to the budget cuts, making it not possible to build models anymore. Even though no models were ever fully created, faces for Hero, Victor, and Kevin were created for merchandising referencing. I'm not even gonna comment on this one. I'll just let the clip play and you guys can decide whether or not it's true.
My funnel's cold, he puffed. I want a scarf. Rubbish, Percy, said Henry. Engines don't wear scarves. Engines with proper funnels do, replied Percy. You've only got a small one. Before Henry could answer, Percy puffed away.
The TV producers were trying to merge the Goldie Fell Railway with the Skarloey Railway in the hit era and make the Skarloey Railway the Mountain Railway, hence why we see the narrow gauge engines being referred to the engines in the hills. Basically, David Mitton had plans to incorporate characters from the show Tugs into the film throughout a scene where Thomas encountered them on a seaside run. Many of their models were shipped over from the United Kingdom, but none were ultimately used in the film. So apparently there was an idea to give Donald and Douglas new blue liveries similar to the ones they sported in the Railway series for Sodor's Legend of Lost Treasure. However, this was rejected in favor of keeping their original liveries as how most fans remember them. In a storyboard concept artwork for Kevin the Steamy, Duke, Peter Sam, and Sir Handel were seen. This is probably here because the season 12 behind the scenes pictures have such a weird energy and unsettling vibe to it. Many users consider these production images to be quite disturbing and uncomfortable. That's all I have to say. Not much is known about this, but Day of the Diesels was originally going to have a much darker theme and plot. The original script was too scary for children, so they changed it. Diesel 10 was also going to be voiced by Rupert Degas, with a much different and deeper voice. According to a recent email by Ian McHugh, Henry was never meant to leave the sheds, only Edward. This confirms why everything with Henry moving out was so rushed and forever and ever. He was supposed to stay in Tidmouth Sheds, and for the longest time, we thought Henry had a cancelled episode where he moved to Vicarstown. I'm gonna be honest, at first I didn't know what this meant until I looked it up on the wiki and saw that the goods station that Rusty went to in Rusty to the Rescue was actually called Vicarstown Goods Depot. I also want you to look at these two images. Many people have theorized to believe that this might be the same location. There were plans for Adventure Begins follow-up and a mini special series, but of course these were cancelled to make way for Big World Big Adventures. In late December of 2018, Drayton Manor apparently removed Stepney off the display and put him in storage. After that, Stepney just disappeared without a trace. On February 1st, 2012, it was announced that Mattel purchased Hit Entertainment for $680 million US. Other bidders involved were Hasbro, Viacom, and Disney. There isn't much to say here, but did you ever find it weird how Toby slept on his old railway shed in the hit era? Well, Arsdale End was originally the top station of Toby's old tramway in the television series. However, in more recent series, it has become part of the Northwestern Railway, and Toby now lives here for some reason. Harvey's model was in a display in Drayton Manor and was using his smiling face mask. At one point, Harvey's face mask fell off because it wasn't put correctly. It's likely that they removed him following day. I'm kinda surprised how not many people know about this one, but during the season 5 episode Duncan Gets Spooked, we were never told that Rusty made up the ghost story or not. Again, not a lot of people know this one, but the episode Rosie is Red wasn't shown in some countries, like Turkey, Greece, the UAE, and many more. Likely because they didn't like the fact the episode talked about romantic relationships and the cartoon made for kids. You know, they are more strict over there, so they banned it. This isn't really true. It was just a small rumor that happened in the fandom around 2018. Someone said that Molly was going to return for Big World Big Adventures as a main character for the Steam team, but was replaced by Rebecca because she was apparently, I quote, too feminine. and they were looking for someone more loud and bubbly. If this was true, that would be very stupid and defeat the purpose on adding more female engines. People also think that Rebecca took some of Molly's character traits. Rebecca sees the good in everyone, while Molly wants everyone to see the good in her. It's kinda up in the air if this is actually true or not. Okay, we're almost done. I just want to give a quick warning for some of these in the bottom layer, as some of them are a bit disturbing. So please keep in mind while looking at these. If you don't like creepy or disturbing media regarding Thomas, I suggest skipping a bit. Please consider this a warning on what comes next. Ever wondered why season 20 was so damn good? Well, now that some time has passed, we know why. There was a possibility that it was going to be the last season. Journey Beyond Sodor came out later that year, and a lot of people believe that it was originally meant to be written as a finale. It has a very finale vibe to it, and a quick reminder that Art Productions, the animation company, at the time went bankrupt that year, which made things worse. But Big World Big Adventures then came and they kept on going. There was an early test trailer for the movie which had a very similar animation style to seasons 19 to 21, and not the shiny, glossy animation we know from the Big World Big Adventures era. There were a lot of changes in this early test trailer, such as Nia had a more simple livery, a different rockfall climax, and some reused footage from past specials like Blue Mountain Mystery and Tale of the Brave. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check the trailer out. Honestly, for this one, I'm not too sure about this information. Basically, there's another popular fan theory that the fandom has created. This is just a belief that Pinchy is the one who makes Diesel 10 psycho. This obviously isn't officially canon, so it's up to you to believe this is a headcanon or not. In a 2015 interview with a railway consultant, Sam Wilkinson expressed his interest in reintroducing Boko into the CGI series, and apparently in a deleted interview with Andrew Brenner, he had wanted Boko and Hank to return in season 22, but Mattel wanted more female characters, so they were rejected. The Hero of the Rails DS video game was going to have a bad ending, where if you lose the game, you would get an alternate ending where Hero would be left to rust and eventually just die, or Thomas's efforts would go to waste and Sir Topham Hatt would send Hero to the smelter's yard. I don't really know what this means. I tried researching it, but I guess it might be taken from the Super Mario 64 iceberg. I think it means that there's a certain quality of the franchise that everyone commonly finds unsettling, and that can most likely lead to multiple people having the same type of nightmares. I put quotation marks on ghosts for a reason here. So as far as you can tell, this is a joke entry. There's a scene in James and the Trouble with Trees where Thomas's driver slowly moves his head. Take a look.
"I'm ready," whistled Thomas. "So am I," James replied. "As ready as I'll ever be."
At the end of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, the film's original script, Diesel 10 and P.T. Boomer would be killed off by a magic bandana to turn them into sludge. This is probably referring to the fact Norman is Dennis's incomplete CGI model. There's a rumor on how the animators at Nitrogen would give up halfway while making Dennis and then move on to making Norman. Same goes for Splotch, Sydney, and Paxton. So once ARC came along around 2013, Nitrogen's incomplete model should have been long gone somewhere in the studio, probably deleted or sitting there in the computer file. In the new Thomas reboot, there's a new character called Kana. Kana has been suspected of being a stolen OC by Twitter user Merci Resolution. All of the links to her socials will be in the description below. Anyway, both characters are purple, electric, have the same eye color, and almost identical names, Kohana. I was actually lucky enough to get in contact with the creator of Kohana and ask her opinions regarding this situation. Here's what she had to say. When I first saw Kana, I was immediately thrown off on how similar she looked to my old character, not only visually, But the names? Literally 2 letters off. Both Japanese names too, if I'm not wrong. Both are high-speed, electric, purple engines with yellow accents. And based on the whole idea of All Engines Go, they'll probably be similar personality-wise as well. Kohana was created just to play around with the idea of a young engine as my other character at the time. Saffron was a very old one. I never got to develop either as much as I would have liked. When I first saw Kana, I wasn't really all that mad or upset, just confused. At this point, I'm kind of forced to accept the similarities between Kana and Kohana as a fluke. But it's a little disheartening knowing a giant corporation like Mattel can rip off a fan creation with no repercussions. As a small artist, I don't have the resources to bring anything legal to the table, and even if I did, it's more than likely I'd lose. In an interview show with Alec Baldwin, he was told how his impression of James was gay. I'll show you guys what I mean.
I have to ask you about this because one of the characters, I've seen the shows.
I know where you're headed. It's the theme today.
Yeah, well, there's this tank engine called James.
James.
And clearly you made James gay.
That's your interpretation. That's your projecting your
Really?
sick, fried bologna hair attitude on everything.
All right, why don't we show? I think we have a clip here. Let's show them some James, and you decide.
You decide.
You decide. We're gonna show this. Take a look at this. Is James?
Suddenly, he saw James pulling a long, slow train.
Oh my goodness! Save me!
A quick-thinking shunter did, just in time.
What was that?
Exclaimed James.
What are you talking about?
Sounds ahead of my time.
This is just a creepypasta joke that is known around the fandom. It talks about a deleted season 1 episode where Thomas picks up a group of children and then comes across Bertie, who is stuck on a crossing, and Thomas would speed up, crashing into Bertie while the children are still in the coaches. Also, the do not search is a running gag that was popularized by the other icebergs. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Thomas and Friends, Institute of Innovation is a film produced by Studio Hansa between 2013 and 2014. It was made to promote Thomas and Friends worldwide. For unknown reasons, the film has not been released to the general public, and likely never will. Not much is known about the film's plot or storyline, but it features 2 scientists experimenting on Thomas and his friends. The scientists believe that the roaches and Thomas and Friends characters will be the only surviving creatures after the apocalypse. Creepy, right? So there we have it. That was the entire Thomas the Tank Engine iceberg explained. I've been working on this project for a couple of months now, so I'm glad I finally be able to finish it. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Before this video ends, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of the icebergs I used while creating this video. There were many other Thomas icebergs I found on Twitter by these users. To be more cohesive with the video, I chose to adapt all of them to a larger picture with a few changes of my own. You can check out the links to the original Twitter icebergs in the description. I also know that other people in the fandom have also made Thomas related icebergs, which are really good by the way. Links to them will also be in the description. Mine was just simply for entertainment purposes. Once again, if you feel like I've made mistakes about something in the iceberg, don't be shy to let me know in the comments. I really appreciate it if you watched it this far.